He's not bluffing. Vladimir Putin making a chilling threat of nuclear war and trying to upstage President Biden's big speech to the United Nations. The Russian leader calling up hundreds of thousands of reservists to fight in Ukraine following frontline setbacks in the war there, while claiming he is not bluffing when it comes to his nuclear threats. Here's Biden hours later.
Putin has made overt nuclear threats against Europe and a reckless disregard for the responsibilities of the non-proliferation regime. This war is about extinguishing Ukraine's right to exist as a state, plain and simple, and Ukraine's right to exist as a people. Whoever you are, wherever you live, whatever you believe, that should make your blood run cold.
Biden did get to speak about his favorite topic.
I've signed a historic piece of legislation here in the United States that includes the biggest, most important climate commitment we have ever made in the history of our country. This is a global game changer, and none too soon. We don't have much time. We all know we're already living in a climate crisis. No one seems to doubt it after this past year.
You know, Greg, right now what you've got is months and months of a war that should have been ended supposedly within a few weeks. And now Vladimir Putin's back is against the wall, and he's got his finger, he's alleging, and threatening against the on a nuclear button. And he's threatening all of us. And he does have a nuclear arsenal.
I find it interesting that in this, you saw Biden talking about I wonder, is $57–60 billion in arms sent to Ukraine? Does that help or hurt the climate crisis? Just putting it out there. I mean, it kind of seems like you can't say both things. You can't tell us we're in a crisis and then keep a war going on with billions and billions of our dollars with, you know, missiles and bombs and trucks. I think these reservists thing, I don't think Putin planned on this. It's a credit to the Ukrainian fighting force and our billions of dollars. But I think this is a good sign for Ukraine, because I don't think millions of Russians are going to be happy that their fathers and their brothers and their sons who were reservists, who may have retired, are being called back in to fight in the Ukraine. That's the other thing. I don't think it's comforting to know that your Russian soldiers may not be coming back anytime soon. I mean, you're like, they're not even letting the ones that are there come back unless they're dead. So this has got to, I mean, this from a morale perspective, and this is really an information war at this point. It's a war of persuasion between two sides. And I think that this is like a blow to Russia. To how do they explain this? The morale is going to go downhill.
Well, and you know, Dana, the truth is that with 300,000, I think is the estimate of reservists that they're calling out, and then you've got people moving out of Russia at a record number. This was supposed to be easy, and now what we've got is he seems like a madman.
So it's supposed to be, I think that either he had bad intelligence, or he just assumed it would be easy, or he thought the military was going to be, his military would be a lot more effective than they were, and that the Ukrainians were going to fold. So none of that happened. And then in the last 2 weeks, Putin has had a pretty rough time of it, because both the Chinese leader and the Indian leader had meetings last week with him where they said, yeah, we're not for this, and you need to figure out a way to wind this down. Then he has pressure from inside his own government, the people that are saying, like, how could you let this happen? You're embarrassing us on the world stage. You have to do something. So he might say something like using a tactical nuclear weapon, or worse, could be something. The HIMARS, which are the weapons that we've been providing, they're extremely effective. And they can't deal with that, especially if they're trying to buy weapons from North Korea in order to fight back. However, I maintain that Putin's strongest weapon that he will use against the West, he's already deploying, which is to shut off energy. And so the Ukrainians can do very, very well. But because the West continues to hamstring itself in its energy production, they are going to be in a world of hurt this winter. And this is a warning for the United States. We have to have a better policy so we never get into this position.
Well, with this administration, I don't know that we're going to have a better policy as it relates to energy. And the truth is, I mean, this guy thinks he can threaten us and that we're afraid of him, and the HIMARS weapons that Dana refers to. When he talks about you threaten our territorial integrity, you're going to get it.
So energy security is something we're learning a lot more about, and the Europeans are learning a lot more about. I don't blame us fully for their challenges. We should be producing more here. but the Europeans are going to have to adopt a different energy posture going forward. Two, Putin's losing. 7, 8 months ago, this conversation, there was a lot of consternation in our conversation about what the administration should be doing or not be doing. There were those that thought that the president was moving too slowly. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. It turns out they were far more right than wrong. 70 to 80,000 Russians have been killed. They cannot impose a draft to bring more soldiers into this because, as Greg so aptly said, people don't want to do this. I think what Dana said is probably the most important thing as we confront this question right here, which is how India and China are perceiving Putin at this point. They have been allies of his. India has been on the sidelines, which you can construe as being an ally in this effort. And China and China's leader and Russia's leader got together 7 months ago and said there was a limitless nature to their relationship. And then China's leader said, no, I need to back that up a little bit. This is not going as we thought. The question now becomes what happens? What is the negotiated out to this? I can't imagine Zelensky's going to give up any land. He shouldn't. And it's hard to stomach, to Greg's point. How does Putin look at people in the face there in Russia and say, we did all of this, we lost all of these troops, we were exposed to not have the military people thought we had, but we're going to back up now. We're at a hard point now, and it will take the Blinkens and the others of the world and our diplomacy corps to help figure out how we get out of this.
Jesse?
Well, I wouldn't rely on the Blinkens to get us out of it.
He's our Secretary of State.
I understand, but he's not really, if you think about it. What has he done? Where has he been? Dana's right. They'll just freeze the Italians and the Germans if they squeeze the pipeline this winter. I mean, if they have to mobilize more Russians, I mean, what are they going to hand them, a 20-year-old rifle and say aim and squeeze? You're going to give them some crummy boots. Wait till the winter comes around. They're going to be cannon fodder. This is the worst military performance I've ever seen, and I've been a student of military history. But it's not so much all the weapons that we loaded up to the Ukrainians, which obviously made a crucial difference. No one expected the military tactics to be this terrible from the Russians. The training's awful, their equipment is old and has cobwebs in it, and they can't even communicate, so it's been a disaster. It's hard to fight an insurgency. Look at the American colonists, look at the Viet Cong, look at the Afghans. When you're fighting for your own survival in your own backyard, and you do have some weapons, you can put a hurting on these invaders. But if I were Putin, I'd say whatever I wanted to say. You could just lie. What are they going to do, impeach you? What are you worried about your next election? Come on, the guy's a dictator, and all of his guys keep having these accidents. Every day, you open the paper and another one of Putin's guys slips on a banana peel, gets pushed off of a yacht. I mean, these guys must be really clumsy or they're being assassinated.
Judge, I feel the same way about the UN. We are being invaded.
Talk about that.
We are being
agree.
invaded. We can't move in our city because the UN is here.
It was great when there was COVID and there was no UN.
Yeah, I know. And now they're back.
America.
They're back. They're using all our escort services, all of our taxis.
Can't get a good escort
Can't get an escort
And you know what
or
else?
a restaurant.
And we end up paying for it. And that's a
Right.
shame.
We're
of it.
paying
Not
for the
escorts. No, up next, woke companies are hell-bent on cramming their left-wing agenda down your throat, whether you like it or not.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.